What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Comment Writers. We are a Kamen Rider review podcast, and we're launching a whole new season here because today we are discussing Kamen Rider Gavv, episode 1. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. I'm joined, as always, my good friend, Toby Tobes. How's it going, Toby?
Hello, new listeners. Welcome to season 3 of this brand new podcast.
We're completely normal here. Listen, if you've heard any weird stuff in the past about the shenanigans that happen on the show, none of it's true. We get right to business. We only talk about Kamen Rider.
We would never do such things. This is a wonderful informational show with no nonsense whatsoever.
Also, we get everything right all the time. Just if you were wondering up front if this was a show that was full of horrible mistakes perpetrated by two idiot morons, well, that's not true. That's not what's happening here. We know everything. Toby's fluent in Japanese. We're good to go. If you need information, we're the podcast for you.
Fuck shit damn, Josh. Let's go. Brand new season.
Ooh, I don't think you... Yeah, you did make it past the 30-second mark or whatever. Whatever you're not supposed to curse in the beginning of a YouTube video.
AdSense for us for days.
Yeah, it's not like we have any ads on anything anyway, but just in case, we gotta put our best foot forward here.
See, like I was in my mind, I was thinking about how to start because it's like, for real, it's a new season, not for us, but of the show. So I was like, well, if we get new listeners, what's the move? So in my head, when I was brainstorming before we hit record, I was like, if I just talk super mellow, will Josh react in a way where I can just pretend I don't know what the hell he's talking about? But you didn't. You went the opposite direction. You swerved me. And then I was like, well, this isn't going to work as good as I wanted it to. So then my other joke I was brewing earlier today was, if I curse right away, I can make a joke like, oh, no ads on YouTube this time. And that would have been a joke too. So I got to do both, kind of.
You guys did both, but I kind of undercut you on both of them.
You undercut me.
Yeah.
You swerved me for the last time.
I like that you were wondering if I would react at all to you being like super mellow, and instead I went on the offensive.
Yeah, like
not only did I not let you get by with it, I attacked you for it.
In my mind, all I expected was like, what are you doing? And I was just gonna be like, I don't like, Josh, what are you talking about? This is how we do this show. And I expected way more of reactionary, like, why is he being stupid this way this time? And not like the other direction of, well, I'm just gonna lean in and say how dumb we are anyway.
I'm gonna build a whole angry bit about it because of whatever you're doing. That's great. I feel like, yeah, like sometimes people wonder like, oh, how would I behave in an emergency? What would I do? What would I be, fight or flight? And I feel like I learned some things about myself here today.
I'm glad we worked on this. So Josh, I'm gonna hit you real fast, real quick here.
Okay.
So I'm going to preface this. I'm going to Tobes Amble it, as we call it here in the business. I'm going to give you my quote from today, and then we're just going to talk about Gavv.
Okay.
And you will know why as soon as I hit you for my quote of the day.
I'm ready.
I was reviewing the first episode with others earlier, and I came up with a summary of the past 3 shows. Geets came out, and I said, fine, Josh, whatever, let's watch Kamen Rider. We can do shows again. I don't care. And I was like, oh, this is a thing, no big deal. Gotcha came out, and I was like, wow, this is pretty good. It's goofy. It's fun. Like, I'm in the groove. I know Kamen Rider things kind of now. Like, we're building up. I have a back catalog in my brain a little bit. And Josh, after the first episode of Gavv, I'm ready for the next goddamn episode already. I'm ready to see that intro theme live on the grandest Kamen Rider stage, the Golden Show thing. And I feel like I know too much about Kamen Rider now. But like, out of the 3 seasons we watched, though, legit, this was like the best opener I think I've ever seen. And they do so many fantastic things in this episode, and I'm so hyped on this season, which was my fear in the beginning. Like, we're recording this a little late this week, but I'm legit already ready for episode 2 because I was like, this is so fucking good and fun. I want to see where this is going. And it really just made me laugh because when you said we're going to watch Kamen Rider, I was like, what the hell is this Kamen Rider? I don't care, whatever. Let's just watch it.
You had no idea. Yeah, exactly. You were completely lost. That's so funny. Yeah. So yeah, if anyone out there is new this time around, yes, that's exactly the line that this took. Toby and I, we're old friends for lots of other interests we shared together. But certainly tokusatsu is not one of them. And we went from Ian Geets being like, I don't know, I'll check this out. Sure, sounds dumb. Let's do it. To now you you being up on
I know too
all
much.
the
I truly know
news.
too much.
Yeah. That's so good. I'm glad to hear that you liked what you saw so far because I feel like you're very hard to read when it comes to your show preferences sometimes. Like I feel like I can pick out like music that you'll like and probably to some extent like wrestling that you'll like and stuff, but like I feel like for some reason when it comes to TV shows sometimes your opinions surprise me. So, I'm happy to hear that you're a fan.
I want to preface that I'm so easy to read on music that we literally have a fake genre that we call
Yes.
Toby music. It's just
Yeah.
called Tobe Score. But like everyone knows my musical lock so much that we just made a fake genre for it because it just makes it easier to refer back to.
Absolutely. Yeah. But other things, you're a bit more of an enigma. I think about.
I heard that twice today, I think.
Yeah, I think that means
I
that
hear it a
you're
lot.
the Riddler.
Enigma? Oh,
Edward Enigma.
it
Not
must be the
since
Riddler.
not since Dr. Otto Octavius have we had a more ridiculously named villain. Uh, Star Wars does that shit too, where they're like, "Oh, it's a bad guy. What's his name? I don't know. How about like mean jerk face? Okay, that's great. Perfect.
That's a good
It.
one.
Ship it, George." It's yeah. That's one of my media pet peeves is people named for like what their function is in the story or like name their name is a goofy reference to like what they become later. It's the worst. I hate that so much.
Okay, Kamen Rider go though. I
All
want to
right.
talk about the episode.
All right,
I'm
fine.
fucking ready.
Had a little rant first.
We
All
can
right, so
if we act stupid later or like into the show. I'm
then
okay
you're
with
okay.
that.
All right, yeah. All
But
right.
we got words and thoughts to get out, and I feel like a lot happened in this episode.
It did. They
So I
packed a
feel like
lot in.
we gotta go.
All right,
We gotta Gavv.
this is so crazy. All
Gavin
right, so
about Gab and Gav, a Kamen
oh
Rider
my
Vor podcast.
oh my god. Gabbin about Gavv is incredible. All right.
I'm buying that.
Everyone
I'm buying that domain. No one else buy it.
perfect. So Gavv opens Toby with our hero. We find out later his name is Shoma. Basically escaping a facility, I'll say. I definitely got Squid Game vibes from all
Who's
of
the
this.
Escher? Was the guy that made the wacky rooms?
MC Escher. I wrote that
Yeah,
down. Yeah, it's very MC Escher. Um, so yeah, if you have ever seen an Escher painting, or if you've ever watched an episode of Squid Games, you know the room where all of the stairs go in all different directions, where it's not actually like physically possible. That's what Shoma is escaping from here, and guys are chasing him. These like
that look like
weird,
stormtroopers. They look because they're shooting like laser blasts at him and missiles,
yeah,
and he's not a Kamen Rider. He's just a dude. But it legit looks like it was very Star Warsy. I felt like with like the enemy armor and like the way they were shooting at him, and then he even did bullet time at one point. So I was like, wow, all the classic action medias are wrapped up.
it really, yeah, they're very much going for. Well, obviously the Squid Game reference is right there. 'Cause they had similar I don't know, like bots. I know they were like real people, but like, yeah, some similar costume people. Definitely Stormtrooper, as you said. It's kind of like what if a Stormtrooper was into free running, is what the guy looks like.
But it's like the black stormtrooper armor. I don't remember like they're Imperial Guards in or something. I feel like
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah,
switched names right at some point
yeah,
when they.
yeah. I think the here I'll Google it because there's also the red guys. I don't want to be incorrect about what they're called. But the ones that are dressed in all black are just apparently called Shadow Stormtroopers. That can't
Alright,
be right. Is that right?
sure, I don't know. Like Darth Vader color, basically, like that shiny
Yeah.
black.
Yeah, so that's a Shadow Stormtrooper, which is just the Stormtrooper costume just in black. They're also known as Black Hole Stormtroopers. I feel like this is a thing where like Star Wars canon is too big and there's like 18 names for these things and they're all slightly different.
There probably used to be 18 names, and then they retconned the entire extended universe, and now there's
That's
probably only
true.
like 3 again.
That's true. Disney ruined it. Uh all right. That is that's Star Wars. I
The
got a
way you
vibe.
paused, I thought you like accidentally typed in like Rule 34 too, and just saw a random picture, and you're like, oh, I gotta process
I
this.
had to.
All right, let's.
I was gonna tell us an inappropriate joke, and even I thought better of it. So that was me rolling my brain backwards in time to before I thought that joke.
Hey, so
Uh,
Kamen Rider Gavv started. We're rolling back like Walmart. So the show picks up with MC Escher stairs and
Exactly. He falls. So it basically, yeah, he gets shot out. There's bullet time, and eventually he falls and lands on a door, and the door opens, and then he falls some more. And he's falling through the air. He falls past an airplane, and as he's falling towards this big city, he looks down and he's like, "Oh, this is where my mom lived. This is the world my mom's from."
so
So
all right. So I'm gonna do this part now, and we can talk about it as they address it more throughout the episode. A, just so you know, this is kind of the way Kingdom Hearts started, where like Sora fell through the watery sky and then landed on the beach and had to wake up.
I
So this might
can't.
be another season of Kingdom Hearts. I just have to throw it out there. But more importantly, this is the third season in a row where the crux of the main character is something with his mom.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Because I
true.
was thinking about before, like, because Geets was his mom was the time empress or whatever the hell she was. I mean, we
Yeah.
didn't know right away. We figured it out eventually. So that was like a mom problem one. Last year was Hodoro and his mom. It was just them two, and they were like together, best buds. It was more about his mom figuring out who he was, or if she knew the whole time. And then this one, as they build pieces throughout it, it seems like his mom was from Earth. He seems very alieny, so I'll
Yeah.
assume his dad was not. But this one seems like he failed his mom at some point, and he just kind of wants to make shit up to her. But I find it funny that all three G named Kamen Riders, these past three seasons, are all mom son crux stories.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's all this one is especially Geats alike, it seems so far, unless they throw us a curve, because it's like the mom's not around anymore, and it's just him like thinking back to shadowy, very, very dream-like thoughts about the mom, right? Like, um, yeah, it's it'll be interesting to see how the mom stuff fleshes out because yeah, as it stands right now, it seems I think you're right. I think that she's human. I think that she hooked up with a Granute, which is the species we find out later on that Shoma is and the monsters are. They're Granutes. So yeah, I think he is half human, half Granute. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see like how she got there. And she tells him later, in a flashback, she's telling him like never ever eat like our family's treats, never ever eat like our family's confections, and he has to promise her that he won't. So like
Well,
that,
and we found out why. So, like, I guess we might have to jump around a little bit for this one.
yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. So
Okay,
we find out why,
yeah, because he turns into a Kamen Rider.
and why is that bad though?
Because I guess she was trying to protect him from his superhero life.
Oh, you think so?
I mean that's I mean logistically that's the only thing it has
I
to be.
guess.
Like
I
she didn't want
guess.
him to be a hero fighting force on his own. So she was like, "We'll never eat the candy because if you eat the candy, you're gonna turn into a Kamen Rider." Or like,
And
or
he,
she knew, or they have dark candy in their family, which we found out is a thing. So like dark candy turns you into a monster, and happy chorizo candies turn you into a happy Kamen Rider guy. So it's either like it's gonna be either there's something dark in the family she didn't want addressed, or she didn't really want him to understand, like, hey, if you eat candy, you're gonna be a superhero. So it has to be like one of those two swerves, right?
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I just as a side note, I apparently was very dumb for this whole viewing because it took me until literally you said it to realize that when he said like, "Hey, don't eat the dark candy anymore," that he wasn't talking about trying to eat children. He
No,
was
he meant
talking
like
about
the weird giant
the
gummy
word gummy.
blocks.
I get that now, but what the line in the show made me think he was that Shoma was being like, "Stop trying to eat kids. You got to promise you're going to stop trying to eat kids." Uh, no, that makes way more sense now. Yeah, you're totally right.
And then I was told today that in this like the prologue part here, when he wakes up on the beach, I guess it's like a direct same shot as like how Ajito started or close to Ajito, like waking up on the beach sleepy, like it's
Oh, that's
almost the
cool.
same exact shot.
That's cool. I believe it is Agito, but yeah, that's
Whatever.
pretty neat.
I mean, I don't know Japanese. You lied to the people.
I'm just trying to enlighten us. I'm trying to make us get a couple less hate comments, maybe. That's cool. I like when they do the like homage shots to other seasons. If they can do them like this, where it's like if you don't know, you won't be bothered by it, but if you know, it's awesome.
Yeah,
uh,
definitely.
like they did some cool ones in Gotchard, like even like cutting back to like what was it, Kamen Rider V3, I think was one of the references or something like that. They definitely did some things that were pretty cool in a similar vein. So that's always really neat. So yeah, he does wash up on a beach here next, and he's found by a young boy. We find out later the boy is named Hajime, but the boy's kind of poking him, asks if he needs the police or an ambulance, and Shoma wakes up and says that he's hungry, he needs some food. So the boy tells him to stay, but Shoma follows him. And this scene's pretty great because everything is exciting to Shoma. He's like, "Oh my god, this is so crazy. This is so different. I'm so excited. This is so different from how it was where I came from." And the boy's like, "Yes, like stranger danger. You're kind of freaking me out, man. I told you to stay and you're following me." And then Shoma wants to eat the shells that he's carrying. The boy's like, "No, this is not food, actually." So we get a sense very quickly, Toby, that this is an alien, not
He's a
from
dumb
Earth.
alien. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not an important part of the episode. I'm going to assume it's not that big of a deal. So last season, Gotchard always had the like, hey, these are the Chemi cards of the week little splash screen between the cold open and like the show start itself.
Yep.
This one just had a fancy looking, bright ass, hyper modern pop gummy, whatever, like little kitchen set or like a home set.
It looks like a set on like a 90s music video. Like super bright, crazy architecture. Um very clearly that's like going to be the main clubhouse, I think, of the show.
See, like I
Like
thought it was either that because like for this week they did nothing with it. Like we got a shot of the room, nothing moved, nothing did like no interaction, and then just kind of like started the show. So my thought was it's either where the Gochizos live, and they're gonna like slapstick around as the show develops and like confirm like, oh, these are Gochizos, or it's gonna be where he stays kind of vibe. But
so
I feel like they made a whole set out of it, so it has to
yeah.
be something.
Yeah, it's clearly like an actual real like one-to-one set. I'm looking at it now and it's got his hoodie hanging behind the desk in the left-hand side. So I
Oh
think
yeah,
that
okay, I see it now.
it
Yeah,
is his I think it's going to be his house. It looks like.
okay.
And it's kind of his like it looks like his like brightly colored style and stuff too. He's got one of those like nice like Herman Miller chairs over there. This is great. It's got the bear salt and pepper shaker right in the foreground. You know, a little touch of home maybe. Um, but he follows this boy, and this boy takes him across the street, Toby. And what happens when they are crossing the street here?
So they do a long shot where you assume the kid's gonna get murdered, like he's gonna
Yeah,
get just fucked up by a car.
it looks that way.
Uh, they hung on a little long, and I was like, maybe the kid's not gonna get hit. So then, of course, the kid walks across the street, and of course, a car comes to stop him. Uh, Shomo, Shoma, sorry, he goes to, of course, dive in front of the kid, tackle him off the road. So I thought this was like the beginning of his hero story of like, hey, he's just a good dude, he's gonna save a kid. But instead, he just turns his back to the van that's about to mow them both down. Van explodes around his back, and then he just stands there. And this sets up the first moment of many in this episode of why this kid is a goddamn treasure. And I hope he's in more of the episodes. Like, I feel like they kind of set that vibe up where it's going to be a thing. But if not, like, Shoma says, wow, I didn't realize things were so fragile here. Like, because again, like, his whole vibe is alien on a
Yeah.
new world, how things work. But tied to that, the little kid's like, wait, you think that's the crazy part? He's like, you just got hit by a van. And like a couple times throughout the episode, like Shoma says something that's wacky, like, oh, the alien doesn't get it. Like, oh, look, this is a motorcycle. Oh, hey, this is how books work, kind of thing. And the kid always hits him with like, no, like, stop saying that. Like, you're the crazy one. This is not crazy. You are the crazy one. And it just cracked me up every time.
Yeah, the one point the boy's like, "Why is this the part that's surprising you? Like,
Yeah.
like what are we doing?" Yeah, the boy shockingly takes this in stride, where he gets essentially saved by Superman. Like it's the thing you see in Superman with the car wrapped around him. Um, I will say in this, the drivers are hilarious if you watch slowly. as the car crash happens, they get like one driver's pointing at the other in like a really weird comical way and grinning real big, and then they get thrown out of the car, and it's like this horrible CG cutout for like a few frames, and it's very funny.
And it's crazy then too, because like they both, like while they're talking about, like the drivers aren't talking, but while Shoma and the kid are talking about the situation, like neither of the drivers move. They just stay frozen in the poses they came out of the car with.
Yeah.
So like the actual driver looks dead but sitting up and is still holding the steering wheel with the airbag that went off. And then his buddy is still just staring at him with like both like finger guns basically pointing at him, and they just don't move.
Yeah, it's great. Very funny. So clearly Shoma has some power here, even when he is outside of his suit. So, just filling in some of the lore gaps here. Uh we do get a brief flashback of his mom here in the midst of this too. And we find out that this is where he's like, oh, the mom is dressed in white. And clearly they're in like facility or something. But we'll see more about her in a bit. Next, we get to meet a reporter, Karakita Hanto. He's questioning an old widow about potentially having seen some monsters. Clearly, he's hunting the same monsters like Shoma is, but he chases the lady off pretty quickly because he jumps about saying monsters like right off the bat, and she's like, no." But I think this is gonna be our little sidekick guy. I think we'll get. I think he'll become a writer eventually, Toby.
So there's a couple options for the sidekicks. Like obviously it's the investigator kind of guy.
Hmm.
He seems a little happy-go-lucky. It's weird that, or maybe not weird, but like they kind of acknowledge now and then at the end that like monsters are kind of an expectation in the world, because Inspector Guy's boss is like, not everyone believes in monsters. Don't start conversations like that.
Yeah,
So that's kind of funny. And at the end of the episode, there's a TV news report thing of like random explosions downtown. No one knows what happens. And we used to always make jokes about it since like actual Power Rangers, of no one ever really seems to address the damage that the Zords did, or
yeah,
even like what's actually going on. So at least in my limited knowledge of the shows you and I watched back then and the ones now, this is the first one. I guess Gotcha did it at the end. This is the first one just acknowledges the day, like day to day life of like, hey, shit pops off here sometimes, or
yeah.
at least like it was a mystery to the news person, but like it's still the first. I feel like there's an actual just like normal television news report of like explosions downtown, story at 9.
Yeah, that was very jarring, like, in a good way, though, to see, like, yeah, like, real consequences of monster fights like this, and then to also just see, like, a real feeling news report. Because, like, if you remember, like, even Gotchard, like, whenever we saw news, it was, like, weird vlogger style or, like, a VTuber. So, like, to
Yeah,
just be like,
yeah,
"It's
towards the
just a
end,
news
yeah.
report." It's just so, like, it's just normal, it's just a news report. That felt like weirdly out of place in a Common Rider from the last couple seasons.
Oh, and this sidekick guy looks like a mix of Black Boon Boonger and Taya to me. Like I thought it was
Oh, I see it.
the
Yeah.
Black Boon Boonger guy. And then I was like, but he has like swoopy hair, high personality, like Taya mix. But to um your point of the sidekick thing, so it's a mix of him. There's a random girl that shows up at the end. That's like the cutaway, throwaway scene at the end. So it's not really like a spoiler or like ruining some stuff. Like at one point, like a random girl shows up and is like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" Because like Shoma looks passed out,
Yeah.
and then there's the little kid. So I feel like a combination of that group will be like the group for the season. Because the
It'll
investigator guy has the link of like, wait, monsters are real. We can go take down monsters. And then
yeah.
obviously we need a, like, there's always some sort of female involved in these shows. So I feel like the girl that finds him is obviously going to be the long term girl and not just like a girl.
I can see that. Yeah. I think that it'll be interesting with the reporter guy, especially because, like, he's gonna be coming at all of this nonsense from a, like, I'm trying to get to the truth. I want to find out about people that have mouths on their bellies, basically. These types of monsters. I feel like there's gonna be tension there then when it's like oh, my new friend Shoma is one of these guys, and like, do I expose him and tell the world the truth, or how does all that work? I bet that there's
Yeah, I can
some
see
good
that one.
tension. Yeah.
Like
Uh
to use the easy throwbacks to last season, because I feel like we did that with Gotcha the Geats. Like he's basically like Kajiki, but just knows that goes surreal, and not so much like I think goes surreal.
yeah, totally. I zoomed forward in the show too to go look at the woman at the inn that you're talking about. And yeah, I think that they play that scene up enough of her finding him, and like, yeah, she looks like a character more than just we cast a background person. You know what I mean? Like they
And
they, they
like
kind of give her wardrobe and give her a look that they wouldn't bother if it was just supposed to be, someone found Shoma, who cares?
yeah, and like the crazy thing too is like so throughout this whole episode, it's not so much like a straight through story beat, but it's just story beats that all tie together. But I feel like there's so much character development for all of them, mainly Shoma, but like from not really like putting things out there plainly and like over explaining things throughout this episode. Like I figured out by myself with like their hints or clues or like obviously it's the point of the show. But like I know who he is. I know his
Yep.
motivations. I know he's missing parents. I know like him learning he's a common rider is like a wacky thing. There's now from the cutaway with the investigator inspector guy, like, okay, that's gonna be a part of the show. Some random girl found him at the end, that's probably gonna be his friend. There's this little kid tied to him in his life. Like
Yeah.
the little kid's probably gonna stay around. Like they did such a fantastic job in like 20 minutes of explaining all the characters, basically, I feel like, without actually just like hammering points home of being like, hey, you're a weirdo monster. You don't know where your mom is. But like we see him learn that like, oh, he might be a weirdo monster. And this little kid's telling me, yeah, getting hit by a van and it blowing up is not really normal, probably. Like I just think they did go with all those beats. But like
Yeah.
it's not like it wasn't like in your face, like, hey, this is him, this is what he does. It's just there's enough context clues even in the first episode to get you through all the important story points already for
Mhm.
mainly him, but everyone else too.
Yeah, I agree. And like I think they rolled out the information about him pretty well, because like the very first thing you really find out, of course, well, he's trapped, of course, in the place, but like the very first thing he says is like enough to interpret lots of stuff about him. Where he says like, "Oh, this is the world where my mom is from." You find out like, "Oh, so then you're not from Earth. You're missing your mom."
Yeah.
Like when you find out all these crazy things about him, he's an alien. He recognizes Earth, but he's been to other places. Like there's a lot you can extrapolate just from that one line. And then yeah, throughout the show they do a good job. Where like, oh, you find out that his driver is his second mouth. It's called a Gavv. Okay, cool. And then like it's not till later you find out that they're called the Granoots. Like the show didn't just sit you down and like talk at you to explain him. Really, it's like they sort of like let the pieces drop as it went through,
So
which is cool.
before we talk about like continue the story part here. So obviously all the presentations of the drivers and the belts and the buckles and everything, it's always presented as how it works on a real human. And like I could pre-order a belt. I know the belt goes around my waist. And then there's this crazy little thing that has like a jack in the box handle I can turn to chomp on things.
Yeah,
The reveal that it's just his stomach. And he's putting candy boxes
it
into
is.
a grinder that's built into his stomach. And then they reveal that all the monsters have this too, and that this is like
Yep.
a biological trait of a race of people.
Yeah.
Was like the wildest fucking thing to me, to the point where the first time he shows his little candy eater, it didn't even click that it was directly in his stomach. I just didn't think I could see the belt wrapped around his waist, because it kind of like he pulls up his shirt and he's like, look at this thing, and kind of like drops it right away, where like it didn't click it was actually like him. And then as it went on, I was like, oh, this is just his stomach.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
tied to that is like the craziest fucking thing of like his main hoodie basically has like a breastfeeding zipper on it, but
yeah,
it's for
totally.
his stomach, so he can just
Yep.
pop out his belly driver with a zipper in his sweatshirt instead of like having the belt on him all the time.
So when the first leak of this happened, and you got a really clear video of this henshin for the first time, I watched this, and that was the moment, the hoodie unzipping to reveal the mouth stomach driver. That was so hilarious that I was like, I can't wait until Toby sees this and we can talk about it. I was like, I've really done myself a disservice for watching this leak because now it's gonna be weeks and I want to talk about this right now.
See,
Uh
this is what I'm telling you. This is why I said I wanted no spoilers
yeah.
because I avoided like other than one picture of him and some like real high level stuff like the Gochizas and stuff. Like I went in knowing literally nothing, and I don't know if that made it like extra fun for me or like in general. I think this whole episode was amazing. Like I said, this is my favorite opener. I have such high hopes for this season now. But like I went in knowing literally nothing, and it like over delivered. Like
Yeah.
everything was just like fantastic after fantastic after fantastic.
I agree. I really liked it too. Like I feel like Kamen Rider typically takes at least a couple episodes usually to feel like it really is done introducing its characters and setting you up for like the world and stuff. Like this one, like I feel like you said, like we learn a lot about Shoma, including like his motivations. Like at the end when he finally does his big, like his big henshin and his big, push to kind of turn things around. He like has a big scream where he's like, "Yeah, I won't let another kid get separated from their parent or whatever, or like I won't let you tear any children away from their moms or something like that."
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, so he's got like a thesis statement right now, like he's ready, like we're already in this. Yeah,
So
it was really well done. You keep saying the boy sticking around. I hope that's the case because he writes him a letter at the end that like kind of seems like he's like leaving the boy behind,
no,
but I don't know.
my point to that because I was talking to the Navigator earlier too, and they had basically the same vibe as you. But my thing was, he's a stupid little kid. His mom vaguely knows of Shoma at this point, like more so that he's a common rider than like the guy that saved her kid from a car. But like he ripped the note in a way where it's just three pieces of paper, easily put back together. The kid says, "You idiot! You left evidence. Why would you do that?" So he nicely puts the papers back in his pants, and then like to me, he's still a stupid little kid. So like he's gonna go home, the note's gonna be in his pants, or he's gonna save the note or something. So I feel like that kid has to be part of the show. Like
I hope so.
there's no like I feel like there's no ways that he doesn't because there's too many pieces tied to him now from the beginning.
Yeah, it feels that way. And his little hideout. So this kid has like he calls it his secret base, and he just has like a separate house that's just his like where his toys are. It's wild. I wonder if that'll become the little interstitial room that we were looking at the beginning.
So I figured it's either that or like I didn't expect. We're jumping all over the place with this episode, so I guess
Sure.
everyone has to deal with this. But so I expected that hideout to actually be his base for a while, and not so much like, "Hey kid, I'm sorry. If I'm around you, I'm dragging you down into this."
Yeah.
But I actually expected like the kid to just be like, "Just stay in here. My parents don't come in here. Don't worry about it." Like
I expected that too.
that tier of hiding the alien, where like mom would come in at some point and be like, "Oh, honey, you're eating too much candy," and the kid would be like, "No, I'm not. I'm not screwing around." And then
It's like
eventually,
Japanese ET. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was expecting that too. Yeah, the second it was like, "This is my secret base," then that's was my thought. I'm just like, "Oh yeah, so the alien lives in here. The parents never find out. The kid brings him food, but mostly brings him snacks, and that's why he loves snacks so much." Like it was all laid out before me, but then they did swerve us a little bit there. Let's hop back a little bit here and pick up where we left off. We meet next. I just kept calling him creepy guy in my notes, but there is a weird looking dude who is presenting quote today's harvest to one of these stormtrooper esque like wolf guys. Um, Today's harvest appears to be like little trinkets of people, like little like faces of people, but toy kind of level, um, wrapped in this like red wire. Um, and he hands these over, and then the guy gives him payment, which is this like gelatinous cube with a Zubat logo on it.
So
So, what are your thoughts on all this?
it looks like the bat looks like Gav's helmet, or at least that tier. I feel like.
Yeah, it definitely is like it's got the mouth, like that's what they're going for is like has a mouth in it. I feel like.
Yeah, so the creepy guy, like, kind of hard to see like the harvest thing, but like it's obviously like little humans in bags almost, I guess. So I guess the vibe, it's very like Boon Boomjer to me, but like instead of collecting screams, we're just collecting children or human souls or something, like, right? Like it's hard to
Yeah,
tell.
it seems, yeah, like that was my vibe, was that it was, yeah, it was gonna be souls or something like that, because it is, yeah, it is like people tied up. Like it's very clearly like restrained, the little like trinket things. Um yeah, it's very, very odd. The evil guy, the creepy guy that that sort of sells these things. He then later eats this gummy that we find out, and a tail comes out of his stomach, a tongue, sorry, rather, and he turns into a giant monster from that point on. So whatever this stuff that they're giving up is like this dark candy that turns the uh what are their names? The Gavoot? What did I say that was called? Granute. Turns the Granoots into monsters.
Well, like,
Go ahead,
oh yeah,
finish.
no, no, you're good. Keep going.
So yeah, speaking of the Granute monsters, what how are you how are you liking their whole vibe so far?
It looks amazing having like the monster have the big belly stomach mouth thing is awesome. I appreciate that it matched the drawing that the investigator guy was showing around. Like it was obviously that guy that was
Totally.
kidnapping people. But now that reminds me, if he said your husband's missing, was it this monster? They're not just eating kids or eating everybody. So we can go back a step and cross that off of
Oh, that's true. That's
that
true.
was that. Uh, the one thing I am by the end, I am feeling a little weird about everyone just jamming shit in their stomach. Like it's funny. It was the wildest reveal I could think of, but like it's just kind of weird.
The moment where he pulls up his shirt, the bad guy pulls up his shirt and
I'm
reveals
like you.
his mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cuz also like it still is a driver even for him, cuz he like there are wires connected to the backs of the teeth, and then he like reaches inside and there's like a little key that he inserts like you would in a driver. It's just the driver is actually a mouth that can chomp on things. Um, but yeah, him pulling up his shirt and revealing that mouth, and like the way that he like brandishes it, like this actor is incredible. Because when he first the tongue comes out and you don't know that what it is, he does this like hip gyration that makes me laugh so hard every time. And then later, yeah, then when he pulls the shirt up, he's about to henshin. He just like he's just thrusting it out in a way that makes it really funny. But then yeah, then we do get the full reveal of the monster, which he's like very, I guess, wolf like. Would you call it a wolf?
I'm gonna go back and double check what it looks like in the fight here.
Like he turns into like a big wolf or dog later on. Um, but yeah, when he's in his normal human form, yeah, it's just sort of like a big kind of like dog that looks like it has horns, but really it's just tongues sticking out the ear, which are mouths. It's very upsetting now that I look at it closer. Do you think monsters this season are all going to be like animal themed, or do you think there's going to be any rhyme or reason to them?
I guess because there's not like to use Boom Boom Jar, the theme is like we turn machines into monsters kind of vibe thing.
Yeah,
I guess it's hard to tell still. Like the Gav looks like a bat more than like how Geets kind of looks more like a fox, even though it's still a Kamen Rider. Like Gav looks like a bat a lot.
he
I
does.
feel the Stormtrooper monster guys have very wolf-like looking ears, or at least like pointy ears, more so than just like a helmet or whatever.
Yeah, they're like Egyptian dogs, like you know what I mean, like that sort of a very pointy ear that you would see.
Yeah, so maybe all just wolf-ish themed or like that vibe. I think probably more so the same vibe of what we saw this week, with differences more so than like wildly jumping around. But
Yeah,
there's no other data we can use for that really. I feel like at this point.
that's true. I really do love that we're gonna get to see. so many of these mouths and monsters that have big mouths in their midsections. Like we joked about it being like Vor Common Rider, but like it's
It
gonna be
is.
pretty close. There's gonna be a lot of eating things and a lot of like mouth horror. There's just gonna be like a lot of close up shots of like really gross mouths, and that is hilarious. I think the suit looks great. I think the monster suit looks awesome here. It's big and goofy like I want it to be, but like it's maneuverable and also kind of scary. I had it paused on a frame with the monster when I was taking notes, and my kid walked in and was like, "Uh, what's that?" It's like, "Oh, this is a
He's
monster.
gonna
It's fine.
eat
It's just
you.
coming." Yeah, it's like right before bed, so we'll see. We'll see if nightmares ensue. I will report back and tell you if the crazy vor monsters cause nightmares. Um, the monster is attempting, as I think I failed to mention, attempting to eat Hajime. So the new friend of our new common writer is about to get licked, and Shoma shows up at the last second to save him. And this is where we get to see sort of like fighting spirit Shoma. So he gets his butt kicked, but he keeps getting back up over and over again. He's very bloody. And this is finally builds up the resolve and says, you won't ever tear a child away from their mom.
So it's funny because, or not funny. So before the kid gets almost eaten by the Vor monster, like the creepy dude is just standing near him and like giving him weird looks. Maybe said something. Oh, he said like you look like you're having fun.
Yeah.
So I guess we will say, at least as of now, like I guess the monsters are trying to eat fun. Like they're trying to take fun out of the world, maybe?
At least this one was. Because he was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
delicious."
So if you saw this person in real life, anybody, he looks creepy and off putting enough where you would look at him and go, he's probably gonna turn me into a skin suit and put like wear me in the closet. Like the clothes
Yeah.
closet. So the kid hears him talk to him, and the kid walks away from him, as any smart child should do, stranger danger, all that good stuff. But the kid walks into a maze of shipping containers with
Not
like
ideal.
with
Not where you want to
effectively
be.
like the creepiest looking dude ever, just
Yeah.
walking out like after you commenting. So while the kid's smart and handy, that was very dumb, not street smart of him to like trap himself in a maze of containers.
Very true. Very, very true. Uh this guy, first of all, like, yes, like he exudes pervert vibes, like 100% at the bare minimum. Um but the shipping container, so yes, it was funny that he walked into the maze of shipping containers and trapped himself. But that was a really fun, different place to have a fight. Like I've never seen that in a Common Rider series before, and it definitely made this fight feel very unique. Because it wasn't just like out in the quarry. I like that.
And not even that, like I'm hoping it's a preface or a prequel for the season. But like again, I've only seen from Geets on at this point. The fighting in that area was amazing. The camera shots and the way they do the choreo has gotten better than ever. And like them being able to use the boxes as like a fighting ground. Like at one
Yeah.
point, Shoma runs across the boxes, does a baseball slide, and like wraps himself around the side of the box. And then him and the monster like use their claws, feet, whatever, and like stick themselves between two shipping containers and fight between them. And like it obviously there's wires and shit, but like there were some splashes of bad CG, but almost all of it, like it looks amazing. Like it seems like they've upped their fight game again, and how like they're using, I'm sure, a shitload of drones and everything else. But like
Yep.
the whole fighting scene, the whole time, like once he henshin, then we became Common Rider Gavv officially. Like it looked amazing. Like it all just looked beautiful, so cool.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, I think that the fight between the shipping containers that you were describing was so cool, and definitely like that didn't really even require like a ton of technology. Really, like it wasn't like, oh, we got a better drone or anything. It was like that's just really creative choreography that we don't always see in these shows. Not that it's bad, but like that was a level that was more like John Woo esque or something, right? Like that, like it took a lot of thinking to figure out how you were going to film it and how they were going to brace themselves and stuff. So yeah, hopefully that all bodes well because yeah, I agree. I think the action felt like it felt like up a notch from what we had been seeing. And I think all the CG, I think it was all very passable in this episode. I think the only instance that felt really bad to me was the drivers of the van, and that was quick enough and funny enough that I'll give it a pass. Like they I think knew it was going to look not perfect, and they played it for a laugh because of that, and it worked. And they should do that more often when they have bad CG come up, because that works great.
But yeah, especially
So
too, like, obviously, like, a Hollywood blockbuster, sure, can probably throw somebody out of a car and make it look like they flew out of the car and stuntman and everything else.
sure, yeah.
But like for a kid show that needs to be kind of slapsticky, like there's really nothing else they could do with it anyway. Like that was
Totally. Yeah. 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 I mean, it's gonna not be like bloody and horrible, right? Like these two guys are gonna come out unscathed. So making it slapstick is the way to go. Yeah, I don't have any fault with that. It's just like, um, it was probably, the least realistic looking effect and like the worst green screen cutout effect I think I saw the whole episode. But for the most part, stuff actually looked really good. Like I really liked kind of most of the stuff we saw. And even some of the like drone slow motiony type stuff that they do, which I loved from Gotchard, it looked higher quality here. So I wonder if it was like they've upgraded the drones or whatever. Like the cameras look a bit better on them now. So yeah, all that seemed amazing. And then that brings us to like the actual henshin. Let's talk about the henshin itself. We've been kind of talking around it. So we lead
so
up to all his Gochizo friends kind of show up,
so
and
I feel like to do all these parts as a group. Like
sure,
the Gachizo friends plus the Henshin.
I agree. Yeah. So
So
the Gochizo friends are like giving him instructions, basically.
the from my initial stance of these look kind of stupid. I don't know how this is going to work in the show. After watching the first episode, like they're all basically living things, and living things in the sense of they emote. There's like 60 of them. They work as a group to like teach him what to do as he goes. Where like at one point, all the colors like move themselves into the shape of his driver and made the mouth move.
That's so great. Yes, I
Right,
love
because
that.
at one point they start going, eat gummy," and he went to put it in his mouth. The Gachizo cried and like cried like bawled, tears sprang everywhere. And then they told him other mouth and made the shape of the driver and made like the chewing motion to teach him what to do. And I went from these might be dumb, not wanting to buy that box of them that we talked about, because I was like, well, there's no chases. Like it's just I pull the box, I get all of them. To me looking at this little squad of little candy boxes and me going, oh fuck, do I actually want these for my desk?
Yeah, they're they're good. I'm with you. I had a similar arc of like not really knowing if I was 100% convinced on this gimmick for this season, and then seeing them in action for this episode and be like, nah, I'm in. Yeah, because they're the best parts of Chemis, like where it's little cute creatures bouncing around that you can interact with. But they're kind of like they can talk, so like that's cool. That's a level that Chemis didn't have from Gotchard. And I think the real smart thing they did was make it so there's more than one of each kind. So it's not like he's just got four of these little guys bouncing around or two of them or whatever that we've met so far. He, like you said, he had like 60 because there was like a bunch of each kind, and making them like that gives them so much opportunity to make them like essentially like flubber. Like they can like join together and like do different things and like make images for him and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of potential with what they can do with those. So
So
I'm very on board with them as the sidekick. Yeah.
not even that, like they're effectively like if you ever played a Peakman game, they're Peakman. Like
They
they're
they
their own living
totally are.
thing. They have their own
Yeah.
personalities. They die, which is wild. Like he actually like when he eats them, he's literally killing them
He's
to use
consuming
them.
one. Yeah, it's true.
And like the best part where it clicked was, and we can talk about the henchman afterwards. So his rider kick seems to be tied to eating the special orange ones, which give him a giant orange boot that
Yep.
uses to like stomp on the monster. I think that was the first one they showed it hardcore with. Like it pops back out, and he basically says like "thank you," and you see his ghost come out of the fucking Gochizo thing. Like
That's
it's
true.
the
You do see a
craziest
ghost.
thing,
Yeah.
and not even that. Like I think it's on Reddit. I mean everything's on Reddit. Someone actually made a running counter now of how many of each Gochizo died. So
Oh,
it was like 4 of like the low tier ones. Because as we go through the fight, we realize when he's just in gummy form, I guess is the main one. Like that's the first form, gummy.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So whatever we'll call it, gummy form for now. Uh, like when he gets punched in the armor in gummy form, his armor is actually squishy, and then the armor flies off. So to counteract that, he eats more of like the gummy gachizos, and his armor fucking regens.
Yeah,
Like
he
there's
could
so
freaking regenerate. So cool.
yeah, like that. Like this is what I'm saying. Like, this is why I just want to talk about this because there's so many wacky things, but it's all just so good. And of course, like when you see him pop, and you're like, oh, he's healing. He gets his armor back. This is a cool thing. But then when you realize like they're like actual things that die and have spirits, it's like
Yeah,
holy shit! Like they're sacrificing themselves again. Like Peakman, it's the best comparison I can think of.
that's
Where I
very
was
funny.
like, this is the craziest goddamn thing. And then I was joking around about it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, these are kind of cool." And again, Navigator was like, "Yeah, they look like tiny milk cartons. That would be awesome." And I remembered this is going to be my Toby ages himself for the episode here. When I was growing up, super young, Tops made milk carton bubble gum that was different random flavors, and the milk cartons were like 2 inches tall, and it was basically like a handful of gum, but like it's literally what good cheeses are now. Like if it's not the inspiration, it should be because it's literally the spitting image of what they are just from like 30, 40 years ago. All
Yeah, yeah. They would probably have no idea, but that would be amazing if that was the reference.
right, so hey, hold on. If you're watching the video podcast, I'm going to tell Josh to put this picture in, and if he doesn't, then Josh forgot.
I'm not
Josh,
going to.
look at these. Like these are literally what gochizos are, but it was candy when I was growing up.
Okay, yeah, I remember these. Yes, it's like little candies, yeah, with in different milk cartons, but like they're very styled after milk cartons.
Yeah, but like
Uh,
legit, they're like little 2 or 3 inch things. And I mean, as a little kid, it was probably a little bit more, but like I would definitely dump the whole thing in my hand, throw it in my mouth because real tiny gum. But like no matter what, like I didn't think about it until I was talking about the episode and stuff, and like that triggered a memory. But it's the craziest thing. I literally had these as a kid growing up, so maybe that's tied to it too, or like in my subconscious, I thought it was awesome until I thought about like, oh fuck, I actually know what these are, kind of thing. But like them being a living thing and them having powers and everything else is just like the whole thing is just this whole season just seems so fun. I don't know. Like I'm
yeah, I'm with you.
legit like I was hyped all day to freaking do this dumb podcast because I was like I got to talk to Josh about this.
That's awesome. I'm really excited that you're excited about it. I love the multiple of them die thing. That's fantastic. I love that we just have an army of these things. The henshin itself is very good too. Just to circle back to that, because you really get a sense of how like organic all of this is. Because it like the his like armor grows around him, and it has this like almost like Venom symbiote esque like approach. Like it like gels over his face. There's a really cool shot right as he's like being engulfed. His eye is red, and his eye is like the last thing that covers up. It's very neat. We probably won't get like that involved of a henshin every time, but this first one it looked very cool.
But yeah, I mean, because obviously, like probably not until later in the show, different costumes. Like one of the things that other things was ruined. Like I know there's other forms. I mean, either way, there's gonna be different forms. So I feel like maybe when he does those, we might get an extended version again, just because like, hey, watch, he's turning into this other thing now. But other than that, like I really can't picture how there would like this one was kind of involved. I don't think we need to do the full thing every
Yeah.
time.
Um, I really like as well. So other things that happen in this fight, the I can really feel the difference in suit actor from Gotchard to this, and in particular, this suit actor I think does a really good job where he fights from like kind of a this like hunched position a lot of the times. Like that's where he's often doing his like posing and where he like is launching attacks from, and it comes across as like actually pretty alien feeling. Like it feels like Shoma isn't human and like didn't grow up learning how to fight like, like you might see on TV or something, cuz he's it's much more like animalistic, and I think that that looks cool so far. So I hope that that keeps it up. And I really loved at some point Hajame's mom shows up and we have to protect her too, and Shoma steps in to block a shot. But before that, to really drive home the point that that Shoma and the monster are the same species and are both monsters. The boy's mom is like, "Oh my god, it's monsters, two of them!" Like she goes out of her way to be like, "No, I said plural. Both of them are monsters," just to make sure everyone understands. I thought that was a funny moment.
And then again, like that was another one of the setups of like the kid was like, no, 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 he's good. And she's like, no, we have to go, get out of here, blah, blah. But like, that's
Not
why,
listening to the poor boy.
right. But that's why one of the reasons where I feel like he will stay around because now he has the note, his mom in this world where there's no mind erases, no anything. She's obviously gonna remember the monsters fighting, and the kid's gonna be like, no, 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 but that one monster was good. Like,
Yeah, he's the hero. Speaking of one monster being good, the boy finds out that Shoma is an alien early on, and he was like, "Oh, do you guys eat humans?" And Shoma's like, "No, we don't." Well, I don't, which is not a reassuring answer if you're the boy. That's not what you want to hear. I happen upon the one of your species that doesn't eat humans. Um, Not the comfort that you might think it would be. We also we get to see a sword. So a sword just pops out of the driver at some point of the Gavv mouth, and it's got a little Gochizo rider on a motorcycle basically that drives down the sword. And Gav uses it at one point, and the Gochizo just bounces off the enemy and then cries. We never actually find out how to use it correctly. Did you notice that? Like,
no, because every time they cried, I started laughing. So
yeah.
I might like one of the little nuanced things I definitely missed this time. Then
It was great. It was like, yeah, we see the incorrect use of the sword clearly because it doesn't work, and then just we move on, which is great, very funny. And we move on to getting to see Vrocan, which is a, I guess in the first episode here, an ATV themed means of locomotion for Kamen Rider Gav. It is it's this weird all-terrain vehicle that can drive on the side of buildings, and we get this like crazy CG sequence that thinks it is a big budget Hollywood movie where we're like driving on the side of buildings and doing crazy backflips, and like it's wild how much they go for in that scene.
and it's hilarious to me because like I took that as okay, this is his mode of transportation. Like it's like a fancier Mario Kart. Like there
Oh
was
yeah, yeah.
the
It is.
like in Godshard, there was the one Kemi that was basically the pirate ship, but that was like we're like, oh, it's like Wario's cart from Mario Kart kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I watching the crazy ATV that shoots candy out of the wheels and everything else, I was like, well, okay, like sure, it doesn't have to be a bike. Like this is gonna be the nod to the Kamen Rider stuff. No big deal. It was just hilarious because once the fight was over and like the world was mellowing, Shoma kept doing the wow, this is Earth, this is awesome, the world's an exciting place, and he sees a motorcycle and he's like, wow, that's freaking sick. And like to me that was okay, that's the nod for the year. Like he sees motorcycles, he thinks they're rad, blah blah blah, no big deal. And then he just makes his own motorcycle because he's like, this
Uh
is so fucking cool. I just want my own motorcycle. And I was like, now we went pure Kamen Rider. Like now we did that was like the easiest, most charming way to do that leap of I'm gonna have a motorcycle. Let's put a motorcycle in the show.
Yep. I loved it. I loved it so much. Yeah, there was an actual explanation for why the common rider is riding. So not only did we get a motorcycle, we got riding, which you don't always see. We got an actual like real reason why it exists because it's like, well, first it was this crazy ATV thing, and then he just happened to see a motorcycle and was like, "Ooh, I want one of those instead." That's very cool. We probably won't see the motorcycle too much more, as we know from past seasons. Doesn't come up that often, but I always appreciate when we get to see it. And we got some really good. They clearly shut down some roads and let him drive around for a while to get some good footage here. It's all cool. It's pink themed. It's pretty much a standard looking dirt bike, but they just colored it pink and blue, which is cool.
Yeah, like and I guess tied to that, the whole color palette for the season, I guess we'll call it. Like Gotchard's was bright with the orange and blue, like the known favorite contrasting colors.
Yeah.
But this one has like very it's like flashy, bright street colors. Like if there was like full blown graffiti in the whole show, it wouldn't surprise me. Like it feels like that kind of like hip '90s pop, vibrant vibe,
Yeah,
and it all
definitely.
just works. Like it all ties everything together nicely. It looks cool. It's something different again.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it in full force when that room's done, and like really get a feel then for like the intensity with which this show is clearly going to be dealing in colors. I think that should be cool to see. And then yes, we get the little letter that he leaves the boy here at the end too. Again, like we kind of described it before, telling him thank you. Hey, I heard your mom say your name, so thanks, Hajime. And like basically, yes, you're safe if I'm not around. So hopefully that's a swerve, and we do get more of the boy because he was great. What a great little actor, and what a cool like foil for an alien that we could have in the show. Like if we keep getting to bounce the alien off the boy in weird ways, where the boy gets to be like, why is this surprising? Like this is crazy. I think that's good. Hopefully we can do that.
And
But
I
yeah,
forget if we said it because I mean I know we jumped around a bunch. During the monster fight, once Shoma is Gavv officially and everything else, he tells the monster, he's like, either don't eat any more dark candy or I'm going to kill you now. And the monster's like, no dark candy. He's like, I'm going to kill you instead or whatever. But it's such a crazy vibe of like, strict as possible. Like, here's the deal: either you stop or I'm just going to murder you. And it's just fun. It was for like to have
yeah,
all the happy go lucky stuff. It was hilarious.
that is true. Yeah. Like I said, you really get a feel for his whole vibe. Like, yes, he's an alien, and yes, this is all crazy and off the wall for him. But then, like, he hits his resolve fast, and like he's like, all right, well, fine, this is how it's gonna be, and he can lay down the law clearly.
To
Uh, um,
use again as since my common rider pool is shallow, like with all the candy love and oh my god, this is candy, this is this, and kind of like the dopey lean into like, oh, I'm a common rider, I can figure this out. It reminds me of O's, like Ankh and the ice cream, and now like Showman the candy, and then the
yeah,
hey, what's the world? I'm gonna figure this out as we go. But it gives me
yeah,
O's vibes, and again, like I feel like the shows that we watch are so far removed from the new ones that I feel like it makes it easier to like maybe reuse some of those ideas. And since they're like, I think we said O's is like 16 years old now.
yeah,
So like, I mean, in theory, like no one would really know or be like, oh, this is an
sure,
O's ripoff. But I guess just because
yeah,
it's fresh in my
sure.
mind and it's an easy comparison, it just seems like it has like tinges of O's to me.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Gochizo are kind of similar to the coins too, because like I think he'll clearly be like mixing and matching those a lot as we see. Like, oh, I'm base gummy form, but then I do the one that gives me the big foot, and like I'm sure later we'll be like, oh, I do the one that gives me the big punchy arm and whatever. Like, well, I'm doing the one that makes me really small. Or I think we'll see a lot of like slotting those in and out. And I think that the monsters probably are going to be similar to kind of the greed from O's as well. Is the vibe that I'm starting to feel from the first show so far. So yeah, I think there's probably lots of stuff that is in common with O's here. Uh I do appreciate that it seems like our hapless hero is a little bit more with it than than Kamen Rider O's was at first. Like I feel like it took like 3 or 4 episodes for Edgy to like not feel like just a complete moron to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I mean,
Where
and
Shoma feels a bit more like accomplished already.
yeah. And again, like 22 minutes, set up all the character traits. To use the other easy one, he's as like kind of dopey goofy as both Keiwa and Hodoro were, but like I feel like the little bit of extra dumbness just makes him more endearing. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't seem like he's dumb. He just seems like he's new to the world. And like that's all it really is. Like he's just a happy goofy guy, but he's not goofy in the stupid annoying way of like, oh my god, this is so obnoxious how a Luffy acts. Like he just doesn't get it yet.
Yeah. He also like he very much like takes in new information super quickly and processes it, and then like then it's not shocking to him anymore. Like he's in awe of this world, but then like gets hit by the car, figures out how cars work, he eats the gummies. I was like, oh, okay, so these are gummies in this world. Oh, this one tastes differently. And then like the gochizos start popping out of his driver without he doesn't know what it is. And then he like right off the bat is just like, oh, I guess these are like my minions. Yeah, well they came out of me, so I guess they're gonna help me. And yeah, that all makes sense. I got this figured out, kid.
Yeah.
So I think that yeah, despite it all being fresh and new and crazy, he seems like he can sort of like get on top of it real fast too, which I like. I wondered when he started the like, oh my god, fences are crazy. Like the second he kind of washed up on the beach, I was like, oh, is he gonna be this the whole time? Like, is he gonna be super ultra idiot mode the whole time? It doesn't seem like that's the case, which I am happy for that to not be true. Because it's gonna be a little bit harder if he's just like an alien to, you know, commiserate with him. But they've already figured that out in this episode. So um, yeah, I can't say enough good things about the show too. I'm with you. I think that it was super super exciting. I hope that they can keep this up for the whole year because this is a great start. Like they set up the premise, set up the world pretty well so far, and it's gonna be really cool to see them sort of like build this out as they go.
And the crazy thing too, like I think we talked about on the podcast, if not at least privately, but a lot of the other seasons haven't filmed, edited, produced the episodes as fast as we learned this one did, where they were already on like episode 20 before the
Yeah,
show started. So with that, like obviously if shit goes bad, like Common Rider as a show seems like it adjusts as it goes. And not that I think the show should have to adjust as it goes, or like if they have their ideas for the show, it is what it is. But like if this bombed, or if this wasn't fun, or whatever, however that all plays out, like they can't fix it at this point. Like there's
nope,
no timeline where they can adjust anything in the show unless it's like the ending. Like if everyone on Twitter, wherever the other day was like, wow, this gimmick is so stupid. Why do the Gachizos have to talk? Why is the kid always around? Why is whatever? Like you couldn't fix it for at least 5 months now. And at that point, like, what are you even reacting to? Like, no one's gonna remember.
yeah, totally, yeah. It's um probably much more of a risk, much more of a gamble. But if you make an amazing show, who cares? It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah,
That's what they decided, Toby.
they do what they gotta do.
They said hold our beer. It's just gonna be sick from the jump. We're not gonna have to change anything.
And then
Um,
since we just saw it last week, and then we have to talk about the most part of the show after this. Uh, so I was thinking back to the Geats to God Shard pass off of like go find your gotcha, basically. And I was thinking about last week of the pass off from Hodoro to Shoma, and Shoma's vibe, his little one or two lines, like there's never a ton of stuff, basically just seemed like he wanted people to be happy. Like he was like, don't fight, guys, just eat some candy with me. And like
yeah,
present the vibe of just like, I just want happiness in the world, or I just want peace, or whatever kind of thing. And it's not super specific yet, but at least that seems to be the general vibe of his alien life here. Like I know
sure.
the mom thing is going to be the main crux of his arc, but like he wanted the kid taken care of. He didn't want a family separated. Like it just seems like the base level pass off worked again in that little presentation of like just wants happiness kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so.
And then
Yeah,
mentioning the
it
mom,
certainly fits with what we've seen from him so
yeah.
far. Yeah,
And then mentioning the mom reminded me in one of the flashbacks of when he lost his mom, he wasn't strong enough, whatever. She was definitely in one of those human snack tray things. I don't remember if we
what do you
mentioned
mean
that.
she was in a human stack tray thing?
Like when the creepy guy gave the humans in the red snack things and got his candy,
Yeah.
the red wrappers. His mom was in
Oh,
one.
oh. In like where? Yeah, that was like in the
In one of the fancy flashbacky things.
yeah, where he's screaming about like
I'm
losing
not
his
strong
mom
enough. I can't do
basically.
it. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, because this is when he's like staring in his hand a bunch during the fight too. So like in current time, he's like holding his hand and staring at his hand and like clearly upset about something. And then in the flashback, you find out it's like, oh, you feel like you let your mom go. Like that was the whole thing. Yeah.
Again, I sent you the picture, so this is the screenshot you need to use right now. That's definitely his mom in the rapper, and that's when he says, "I can't protect anyone."
Okay, right. So I forgot about that. I forgot we actually got to see the little wrapped up red.
And
So
I feel like I think it's more of just a general ghost thing. It might be everywhere. I feel like wrapping a doll or a picture in string like that is some sort of spirit thing where it's like a curse or a protection or something weird. So I
hmm,
think that's a tie to
probably is.
some
I'm sure
concept I
so.
can't think of the name of right now, so I'm not gonna talk more about it.
I'm sure someone will write in and have lots of information about that if that is the case.
And then of course the most important part of all of this, the ending theme that is the intro theme for the song, which has been my much hyped thing for the past like 2 months since all you fucks knew about it ahead of time.
So what are your thoughts?
So my thought process was so Geets was Trust Last and was like rappy rock kind of thing.
Uh huh.
Gotchard was the purest Tobes core pop punk melody woes song. So in my head before the show, I was like, what's it gonna be? What era are we in? What are we gonna do here? So in my mind, I just saw like a real soft J-pop bubblegummy song of like I've hyped this up too much. Everyone's made this into a joke now of like Toby and the music thing. And I was like, I'm not gonna like the theme. I was like, I know they're gonna swerve it. They're gonna do something silly and different. I was like, I'm just not gonna like the song. So they played it, and it fits. I think it fits the show perfectly. It reminds me of Excite from Xaid, where it's very like it's like BTS, but
Yeah,
just Common Ridery. So I listened to it a couple times today, and I was like, I really dig this. Like, it's not necessarily my kind of music, but it's music that I think fits the show and still like brings the hype and it feels good kind of music. And that was one of those weird throwback things where I was like, wow, I know they're going to perform this at the Common Rider live show. I can't wait to hear this live with people freaking out.
that's always fun. Yeah, yeah. The live version is always so fun. I agree that I think Xaid is the reference that came to mind for me too, where it is. Yeah, I agree. It's very like BTS. It's very like idol group sounding, and like a little on the like the electronic side, I guess. Like it definitely has that like that vibe to it for sure. I've really only listened to it twice so far. Like when it first like came out, I listened to it, and then I heard it here in this episode. So I haven't really like given it a focused listen, thinking about it as just a theme so much really. So I should go back and do that again. But my feelings are so far that I like it and I think it fits really well with the episode and definitely giving me strong X8 vibes for sure.
So, like, obviously, I had to find out more about the band afterwards because that's just the way my brain works. So, like, they are like BTS. Like, it's a 7-person boy band, basically.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly then. Yeah.
And then I went through and listened to some of their other songs live. And none of it is like, it's none of it super special, but I do think they are a good boy band, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, cool. I did, and it's good that Kamen Rider continues to have songs that I don't hate too. I feel like we are on our third one that I have liked now. Like, you know, I really loved we'll say the last two, especially the last one, and this one will probably grow on me a bit in the next coming weeks too. So, I think we're on a good run as far as themes go. You're super excited about episode 2. I guess I don't really need to ask your thoughts because
My
you're
thought
you're
is I'm
pumped
super
about
excited about
it.
episode 2.
We are as well, and we hope you guys are too. Of course, we haven't talked about it yet, so let's give a little promo for our Patreon, Toby. If you like
We have a
what
what?
we have a Patreon. If you like what you've heard here today and you would like more of our nonsense, you got to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the comment writers, for bonus content, extra nonsense every single week. Over on the Patreon, we do a lot of what we call watch and reacts, which are basically Mystery Science Theater 3000, but for tokusatsu. So we are currently watching the Bakawage Sentai Boon Boomjer series. Loving that. And also, we are tackling Kamen Rider O's right now as well, as we mentioned earlier in the show. So if you want to watch those things along with us, and also any other extra fun bonus stuff that we put up, That all happens on the Patreon. So once again, patreon.com/the comment writers. And of course, if you join the Patreon, Joey, it's only $3 a month. And you also get access to our Discord, which is the absolute best place to keep in touch
To
with
be a
us and
fool.
to be a fool, exactly. And join our ridiculous community over there. So once again, patreon.com/the comment writers for that. Our Discord does have a channel for asking questions of us. If you would like to do that, that is called episode questions. So not any in there this week, but next week we might have some to answer. And we also, Toby, have an email address, which is cast@commonwritersucks.com. Once again, that is cast@commonwritersucks.com. We got a couple emails this week, Toby. We're going to buzz through them real quick since we had a longer episode. But first is coming in from Raphael. And Raphael thinks that we should check out Go 5. I'm not actually sure which it is. Which is a great season of Sentai, in his opinion. So if we're looking for another thing for a Patreon watch,
Now,
that gets a vote.
we're not looking for that for Patreon watch. Wait, yeah. So first, Raphael, you need to join the Patreon at patreon.com/the comment writers. And then when we're done with the next season, we have very dramatic votes. It's like Survivor, but spinning a wheel instead. So you need to get in there to place your vote for Go 5.
Yeah,
And
if you want that on the big wheel, this is how you do it.
You got to put your money where your mouth and your eyes and your ears are. And you got to get in there and you got to vote. You got to put your money in your stomach port.
Yep.
Crank it up. Make some candy cry. And then you can tell us and suggest nicely what shows to watch like you did.
Exactly. Thanks for the email, Raphael. Next email quickly comes in from Shade. Shade says, "Greetings, everyone. It's that time of year again. After a Kamen Rider series ends, another one begins right after a circle of life that is the same but also different every time, and we love it because of that. So buckle
Shade
up
says,
because
I hate Gavv. It's as dumb as Godchild was when it started too. And he's going to swerve later unless he says something else in his email.
I think he seems okay with it so far. I'm not seeing any complaints. First, he says that Gavv became an honorary member of the Japan Gummy Association recently. Did you know there was a Japan Gummy Association?
that was going to be my first question. That's good to know.
You idiot. How could you not know?
You stupid gummy-headed fool.
Also, Shade points out that Bandai is already selling Shoma's hoodie. You can get it in one of 7 different colors. If you would like.
I was going to bring that up, Josh.
Well, there you go. You should have brought it up sooner, because Shade's the one who gets the drop on that piece of news. If you would like to randomly throughout the day expose your tummy to people, you too can join in on the fun.
So that was my question. So first of all, I looked at, as you know, I like to do, like looking at the merchandise. Mm-hmm. There's a jacket we haven't seen yet. I think it's the one that was hanging in the magic room. That jacket goes for like $275 American.
That's too much.
That's too much. And then the hoodies are on there too. The hoodies are only $160, but the important thing tied to the hoodies, it has a zipper that goes across the stomach basically. And I'm trying to figure out, without buying a hoodie for $175, if the zipper is just like a pocket like starter jackets used to have, like a tummy pouch, or if the zipper across the stomach actually opens the jacket.
If you're spending that much money, it's got to be the full, like, opens to your stomach.
I would think so.
I want the real show version where my tummy sticks out.
I don't want anyone wearing that. I don't want anyone unzipping their stomach. I don't want people flashing their stomach to me. Like, this is just not a vibe that I want to be around.
There was, so when it happened on the show, obviously the driver is always there. But there was it got posted in our Discord. There was an image of the actor with the hoodie unzipped, and there was no driver there because he's just a human being right now, and it was just his belly button was sticking out instead. And it was like, it's so much more sexual when there's no driver in there. Like when he just unzips it and it's just full on like tummy and belly buttons is hanging out, that is a whole different vibe.
Yeah, like that's the part that, like, I don't know. I feel like there's no good non-sexualized way to wear that jacket. So I don't want anyone wearing it. Like,
I think you should get it and wear it.
No one wants to see that.
I feel like all of our Discord does.
Then all of our Discord better start dumping way more fucking money into this Patreon.
I think everyone wants to see like Toby's custom home henshin, where you unzip, show off the belly button, and then you don't even have to have the driver. Just unzip and show off the belly button. Really is what we're looking for.
I'm gonna chug a beer, burp, unzip the hoodie, and then show off the beer gut. That's from the like much like the gummy
Perfect.
candies. Mine's the beer,
Perfect.
and we do it that way.
I love it. That should be a stretch goal for the Patreon, I think. We hit a
See,
certain number.
it's a good idea until I have to do it, and then I'm gonna feel real obligated but weird. And
Yep.
that's one of those things where like once it's on the internet, I can't take it back. And not that I've done a good job of hiding my real life from my internet life, and there's no real overlap that people could probably find. Uh, this will be the one time that someone's like, "Wow, this is so and so. This is where he works. This is his family. This is his house. Hey, look, here's his Facebook. We're gonna post this picture and show everybody." And that is a life I do not want to lead.
There's so much explanation that has to go into that too for anyone who interfaces with that. Like, imagine that you make that video where you're pretending to be a commentator, you unzip a zipper in the middle of your hoodie, and then just like it drops in your belly button's there, and then the video ends. We
Like,
get it. We get what you're doing, right? Like we in the Discord. So it's funny, but we get where you're going for. Someone else in your daily life sees that and they have no context for what you're doing or what you're pretending to be or like why this is hilarious. They just get you doing that. And I don't even know how you come back from that. Like I don't even know what you say to a person to like to get them to a point where they don't think that you are absolutely insane.
so there's I think like two videos on my YouTube channel that's more me acting goofy just to do it. And I put it online. And that was back before I thought about the fact that my friends could see it if they wanted to. And I don't really care. Like, I'm acting stupid on YouTube when we do the podcast as I do in real life. Like, that is not my concern. I don't think they're going to see some like weird side of me that are like, holy shit, this is you as a person. The one video was me getting ready to be John Cena for Halloween. So the video was me shaving my beard off, me putting the John Cena outfit on, like with fake muscles and all, me playing his theme song, and me jumping on camera 2 or 3 different times and doing like the "you can't see me," spinning the spinner belt, dumb shit like that. To me, it was the funniest fucking thing ever.
That's
And I
great. I
was,
love it.
right, and I was like, no one's gonna care. Like, if you see it, like anyone else, I don't care. It's not that big a deal. So my friends found it, watched it once. They watched it the first time without me, and someone sent me a screenshot of YouTube on their phone and was like, "This is fucking funny," or what? The like, "What are you doing? Like, you're goofy." And like, it was this real weird like smashing together of worlds where I was like, "Fuck, there's visibility on things I do." Like more so than like dumb shit I post on Twitter and everything else. Like I was like, this feels weird now," and I wouldn't care that it was once. Like we laughed about it, no big deal. It is what it is. Mock me when you see me. But then like there was a gap in that first year where any of the videos that I had that were, I'll call it live action of me doing things,
Uh-huh.
everyone would get drunk at parties and then go, "Let's watch Toby on YouTube," and then play these
Oh
same
no.
videos over and over and over. And like, it's not that I care. It's just a real weird vibe of like, I feel like I'm being laughed at directly to my
Yeah.
face with me sitting there. And like, I don't think
Yeah.
anyone meant it like that. Like, again, none of my friends care. It wasn't like that vibe. But it's this real weird feeling of like, this feels dirty and I don't like it. And
Yeah,
those were, and those,
I feel like even if that's not the intent, that drops over into like mean girl territory really easily. We're all like laughing with Toby or like watching this thing Toby did. I feel like that's like super easy, like one extra beer, like too far to be like, like look at the idiot, laughing point.
yeah. So yeah, like, so to wrap this all back around, I know somehow that picture would get out to people, and I know someone would find it. And from all the other things I did when I was younger, I was still old, but I was younger. I was like, that's fine. Like, I'm really supposed to be a full functioning adult right now, and I
Sure.
feel like that would be the actual one that people would show off all the time, and I would actually be embarrassed by that. Like,
Fair
at
enough.
that point, I'd be like, no one's laughing with me. This is directly just making fun of me. I don't feel real weird about it.
And there are so many things that like I would happily do now and kind of do sometimes like on the internet even like things that I would do publicly now that I would never dream of doing when I was like in high school, because it was like, oh my god, people might think I'm like not cool. Like people people might realize that I'm into this weird stuff that I'm into. Like people might know. Um like when I was in high school, like late high school, and I was getting into wrestling, I hid it desperately so no one would know, because I didn't want anyone to know that I was into wrestling because they'd make fun of me. And like same with some of the like, getting into like anime and Kamen Rider stuff and comic books even before that. There was always like this like, oh, I can't let this out. I can't let this side of me out 'cause people might know. Now I feel like, Toby, I would do the dumb henshin pose, and do the unzip, and then I'd be like, yeah, you know what? It's just from a TV show. It's fine. I feel like I in my day to day life, I give just enough doubt that I am a functioning adult that people would be like, you know what? I believe it. It makes sense. I get it.
And not only that, with all the things you just uh, mentioned there, all the things that we would have been embarrassed about growing up, all of the things you just named are all cool now, and it's kind of bullshit. It wasn't cool when I was a kid. It's cool now, and I missed out.
I remember, so I was at the perfect age, where I was into the stuff before it got cool, but I was still young when it got cool. So like it was this weird transition where I suddenly knew about things that other people thought were cool, where like a year ago they thought it was really lame. So then I got to feel very like entitled and like OG about it. But distinctly remember the Spider-Man movie happening, the first one, and that being the point of just like you could almost feel the change where like it went from, oh, you read comic books to like, oh, Spider-Man, yeah, that was great. I loved that movie.
Yeah, then like of course like that's the vibe. Where like I like someone says like I love Spider Man, and you're like wow I never thought you would have said that. Like do you remember the issue where he did
Yeah.
this and then Doc Ock was like this, and then like the one time he had too much sex with Mary Jane and she got cancer from his semen, and they just look at you and they'd be like that wasn't in the movie. What the fuck are you talking about? And then you're like oh you're a fan like that. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
You like Spider Man. Tobey Maguire's cool.
Yeah, you did very quickly start have to have those conversations, like feeling people out, which like you still do with certain hobbies and stuff, and like sometimes that's a wrestling conversation now too, where someone will see you have like a wrestling shirt on, and then you have to like, okay, are you like WWE level, which is fine, or are you into the like you into the real shit? What are we doing here? um, but yeah, it's you know, it just enjoy what you like, I guess is the message for the kids out there. Maybe don't.
I've been saying it for a long time. At some point, as you get older, you realize that none of this shit matters. No one really thinks about you past maybe an initial glance. Like a lot of times, you think like, well, if I wear this, like people are gonna judge me. People are gonna do this, but like it doesn't actually matter because like even if they look at you funny, they're gonna walk past you and they're not gonna think about you ever again. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. We're like, just do what you got to do because no one
Yeah,
really gives a fuck.
so
Most people are too self-absorbed with themselves to actually give any sort of shit about what anyone else does. And
exactly.
the sooner you learn that, the better off you'll be.
And even if they do, even if they look at you and think like, oh, whatever they're doing is like stupid or silly, it's really just because like they're not brave enough to do the thing or be open about whatever they're liking or whatever. Like their opinions don't matter at all.
Yeah,
It's
and like
like that's such a freeing thing to realize. Like, oh, yo, other people's opinions don't matter to me.
yeah, and obviously there's sliding scales. Like, I mean, there are weird things that people might look at you and be like, "Wow, you're actually kind of fucked up." And like, we don't need to go on like the extremes of like, don't
Sure.
do extra shitty things, but like base level enjoyments in life or things you enjoy. No one's gonna judge you if you think they do. I mean, that's a hard fear to get over, but it's really not that big of a deal. Like, you'll be okay. Just do what you want to do.
Yeah, totally. There's your motivational message for today.
There's your the motivational message. We gotta turn this shit off. We've been talking too long.
We really have. All right. Let me hit a couple of points here in Shade's email.
We're
We
still
talked
doing
about the
goddamn email.
we're still doing emails, man. We're still in this. Lock in with me. All right. We'll do last point here in the email, and then we might pick up with a couple tidbits next episode. Apparently, the Henshin belt Gavv. It's not a driver this time around. It's the
It's not a
Henshin
belt
belt
either.
Gavv.
It's a fucking installment in your stomach.
Yeah, it is a mouth. Apparently, they attempted to do some kind of new technology to prevent the belt from getting hacked. So before, like, it was just like pins that sort of like locked in, so you could figure out all the combinations ahead of time. The Gotchard driver used a barcode, I think. So like there've been different ways that have been easy to track it down. They tried to make it harder this time around, but it didn't really work, and it got
Of
hacked in
course
like
not.
less than a day. So now we do have information out there for all of the Gochizos and all the noises they make and stuff. So, um, you know, as expected,
People be people.
people be people. So yeah, we'll go ahead and stop there since we've been running long here and we're going a little crazy. But thanks everyone for joining us here for this first episode of Gavv. We do hope that you join us for next time. And we hope you check out the Patreon once again, patreon.com/slash the comment writers. $3 a month for all of our bonus content. So that's going to wrap it up for us. We'll be back next week to talk about episode 2. And until then, have a great week, everybody. Peace.